And there's intimacy on the radio, and there's naturalness on the radio that can never be replicated on TV. The marvelous resurgence of radio as a political force in this country.
News-related radio programming is evolving.
There's a huge hole in our dialogue that can be filled by the synthesis of traditional radio and the freedom that comes from a live podcast. You're about to experience Cowboy State Politics live. Here we go. Good morning, my friends, and welcome to another fantastic installment from very high above all the puerile and insipid forms of Wyoming mainstream media. This is Cowboy State Politics. I, of course, am your illustrious host, David Iverson, firmly ensconced behind the silver Cowboy State Politics microphone and broadcasting to you from the base of the Bighorns at the Cowboy State Politics studio in Sheridan, Wyoming. Good morning, my friends, and welcome to the program. Happy Tuesday, December 30th. It feels like it's been, forever since we've been in this studio. Oh, that's right, because Ken has been off doing whatever it is that he does. Oh, by the way, Ken, I really wish you'd stop messing around and come back to work.
Wish in one hand.
Oh, stop. He has trouble with mornings. We're joined today by a good friend of the program, good friend of mine, Mr. Josh Jennings. Josh.
Hello. Good morning, everybody.
There you go. Now your microphone's on.
Good morning, everyone. And good morning in particular to you, David.
Well, thank you. Everybody gets the same treatment on this show. So why don't you take a couple of minutes and just tell my audience about yourself.
All right. Well, I'm Josh Jennings. I am son of very, very famous Representative Mark Jennings.
Infamous, perhaps.
Also friend of the show. And yes, infamous is probably the better way to put it. I live with my wife and children in Fort Worth, Texas. And I am a writer on the staff of Glenn Beck, whom I'm sure at least one or two of you out there have heard of. And I am up here for the holidays, hanging out with family and hanging out with you fine folks. So
now you've also got a book that's out. We should probably hawk that one a little bit.
Why not? Thank you. Yes, so I have a book. It's called Space Tractor and Other Science Fiction Short Stories by Josh Jennings. It's available on Amazon. I highly recommend that you get a copy and then buy several more in case you hate it and you want to burn a few.
Now, this is a follow-up.
Yeah,
this is a follow-up to your first great work of fiction.
This is true.
Timmy the Tapeworm.
David never lets me forget the quote-unquote children's book that I wrote called Timmy the Tapeworm.
I bought that one.
Yeah.
And I haven't bought the next one.
Well, is it?
There might be a correlation.
But
I don't know.
Is that because of how fast you read?
Well, I haven't finished it yet. It does take a little time.
They're great books, and you should go check them out. Timmy the Tapeworm and Space Tractor. You can get them on Amazon.
That's right. Yep. There's a couple of others on Amazon as well. Just go to my Amazon page. You will have plenty of reading for days and weeks to come.
All right. So we've got a great program today. At the top of the second hour, we'll have Secretary of State Chuck Gray. He just yesterday announced that he's going to run for the U.S. House of Representatives. And so we'll have him on the show tomorrow. Or today, tomorrow. And so lots of stuff happening on today's program. Thank you for watching. But we begin this morning with Fox News. And here's just a piece about Chuck's announcement. It's entitled, America First. Wyoming Secretary of State Chuck Gray launches House bid. And I quote, Wyoming Secretary of State Chuck Gray announced on Monday that he's running for Congress to replace Representative Harriet Hageman, who recently opted to run for the U.S. Senate. Gray, an outspoken ally of Donald Trump, said he made the decision after prayer and conversations with voters across the state. No doubt that he did. If you didn't know, Secretary Gray is a devout Catholic. Quote, "I'm running for Congress to continue fighting for Wyoming's way of life," he said in his press release. With Congresswoman Hageman running for the Senate, Wyoming needs a representative who will build on her strong record, advance our shared Wyoming values. All right, you get the idea. So, first, as I predicted correctly, Chuck is running for the U.S. House of Representatives. If you missed that episode of the podcast, you should go back and I'll get the title for you. But I did correctly predict a lot of stuff that's happening.
I heard that episode.
Well, and okay, say it again.
I heard that episode.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was
It was a good episode.
pretty insightful.
And very, yeah. Nostradamus here.
Well, I don't know about that. But anyway, Chuck's, and I don't really think this is high math we're talking about here. Chuck has long wanted to run for higher office, and, I think this was a logical step. There's already 27 people running for governor, so, I mean, that race is pretty well out. So why not run for representative?
Well, and again, he's not going to run against Hageman, so.
No, he made that very clear.
Yeah.
Before any of these announcements came out, he said he wasn't, whatever office she wasn't going to run for,
Right.
He'd be interested. So let's talk about the governor's race.
I was just going to say, I have never watched Game of Thrones.
You haven't?
And after this last couple of weeks here in Wyoming, I don't think I will ever need to.
No, it is the governor's race. In my opinion, is a disaster. What Republicans always do is we run about 25 candidates, and then we're shocked at the end of the election when the vote gets split and the liberal gets elected with 29% of the vote.
Yep. It's weird that they never learn. Like you would think, you would think after throwing a fusillade after fusillade of just absolute duds, you eventually learn we should change tactics.
Well, so that leads me to a question.
I have an answer.
Honest
Perhaps
question.
they'll match.
What do you do when Brent Bien comes out as early as he did and works very hard and is a good, staunch conservative? I voted for him in the past. What do you do if you're someone else who considers yourself a good conservative, who would also like an opportunity at that? Does it just mean the first one across the tape to announce should be left alone? Or how do we do a primary, and when does it end?
I think the answer to this, and of course we don't have this remedy available to us, but the answer to this is a runoff election. So that whomever gets out of the primary, you got one Republican and they go into the general election. But the problem in Wyoming is the real election is the primary.
Right.
And so to answer your question, Ken, I think I'll borrow a phrase from Josh's dad. They need to get in a room and arm wrestle or leg wrestle or pull pistols or what, probably not that one, or whatever they can figure out to come up with one candidate. But we seem incapable of doing that.
And I assume that the reason for that is because Wyoming is such a Republican heavy state.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean that they're all actually Republicans.
I definitely said Republican heavy in favor of saying conservative leaning.
Yeah.
I do know there's a difference.
I think demographically, if you split the state up, you're probably talking, 55-45 conservative, liberal, 60-40, somewhere around there. I mean, of course, it changes.
Are you splitting elected representatives, elected officials, or just the people?
No, I think
Because-
just generally speaking around the whole state.
Yeah, if you go just the people, I would agree with you. I'd say that's probably pretty close. But when you start looking at who actually takes the time to go get elected,
Yeah.
those officials are overwhelmingly left.
Yes,
Or at least
absolutely.
traditionally
You know what that
have
is?
been.
The answer is really easy. It's because conservatives don't want to run for office.
Yeah.
Really, we don't want to be involved in anything, and we want to be left alone. And it's the liberals that want power, and so they're the first ones at the clerk's office signing up to run.
Listen, David, the people's money is not going to steal itself, okay?
That's very true. Very true.
There's also the old adage that those what can do and those that can't teach.
Yes.
Okay, no offense to teachers out there, but why would you go to government and work for pennies on the dollar when you
Well,
could
you should
actually
go to
go
work for
out
the
in the
Wyoming
real
Business
world
Council.
Right.
and do something? And yet, there are a lot that would point out that system falls apart.
Well, pretty quickly. Well, I mean, it is a classic Wyoming Republican move that we have a whole bunch of candidates running for governor, and nobody has a conversation.
Yeah.
Just to kind of give you some history, Josh, Matt Mead was first. He was the governor before our current governor, Mark Gordon.
Right.
He got elected with 29% of the vote. 29 out of the primary.
Wow.
Mark Gordon was first elected with 33% of the vote.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And this solidifies what I've been thinking for a while, which is I'm moving back and running for governor, guys.
Well, I think this year you have a chance. In fact, we should all run for governor.
Yes.
We have an equal opportunity.
It's our Spartacus. I'm running for governor. No, I'm running for governor.
You can't run for governor without a cowboy hat.
I have a cowboy
We
hat.
have cowboy hats.
I just didn't bring it.
Yeah.
I noticed you said we there, David. Is there some announcement you'd like to make?
No, well, there are several cowboy hats in the house, one of which is not owned by me. I see no reason why Christine ought not file for,
May as well.
governor.
Women should be allowed to be governors too.
Remind me during the
Probably.
break, and we'll call Christine and tell her, surprise, honey.
You tell her there's a house seat or two around. She might have to move, but there are some house seats.
Well, it'll be
that we
fine.
wanna-
Yeah, we'll just move around town. In other
We'll
dumb,
just start. All of us will start introducing ourselves in public as gubernatorial candidate so and so.
in other dumb news, I found this article in the Washington Free Beacon, and it's entitled "2025 was the dumbest year by far until the next one." and let's be honest, guys. There has been a lot of really stupid stuff that's happened this year. What's on the top of your list? Kind of go around the table. Ken, what do you think is the dumbest story this year?
You put me on the spot.
I did. That's what I do.
You come back to me because, see, I predicted that you were going to go over there to him.
See,
I moved
that's
the
why we should
camera over
focus
there.
on my predictions.
I can't read your mind, and if I could, I wouldn't.
Yeah, fair enough. It'd be a short read. Josh, what's the dumbest
Oh,
story?
any and all stories having to do with Queers for Palestine.
That's pretty dumb. Absolutely.
That to me, I mean, it just the existence of that Venn diagram is astonishing to me, and yeah, that one's my favorite for the year.
Well, and why? And I think that tells you a lot about how much education we don't have, because those are going to be the very first people that get thrown off a roof.
Yeah, and it's not. That's not hidden knowledge. That's not like something that you only learn if you've gone, specifically to school to learn about, the Middle East. Everybody knows that. So you don't want to see those people sent over there necessarily, but you kind of like, you want them to be made aware of what exactly their what would happen to them if they went over and tried to ally themselves in person. It would not be pretty.
No, Ken, what's the dumbest story that you've run across this year?
I think maybe near and dear to my heart are all of the bleeding heart pleas to save the Wyoming Business Council and what a great thing it does. I would admit my focus is a little narrow of late, and there are probably some other really dumb ones out there, but that one popped into my head.
Do you have the Josh Durrell soundbite handy? Since we're talking about dumb things.
He always does this to me. I haven't been here for like 2 weeks. I can't remember what any of these buttons do. And he wants me to pull something. No, I don't.
No, we don't
I
have
don't
that.
have it.
Hey,
handy.
Ken, can you play a whale song for us just
Yeah,
off the?
yeah.
Off the hook. So I just got a message. There is at least one person in Wyoming who has definitively said they're not running for governor, and that would be Christine.
Oh well, I mean, time for her to leave, I guess.
Yeah, this is also very good evidence that she is listening to the program.
You got to take this more seriously, Christine. Come on.
So I should really watch what I say. All right, to the Washington Free Beacon. Now, so they're the first dumb story they identify is from January, and it's entitled "Corpse Removed from the White House." Sleepy Joe Biden was finally evicted from his taxpayer-funded care facility. Kamala Harris was also forced to leave. but not before humiliating herself one last time by pledging allegiance to the United States of America and certifying her own defeat. Another idiotic story, former Senator Bob Menendez, also known as Bullion Bob, was sentenced to 11 years in prison.
Oh, yeah, I remember this
Yeah,
story.
you remember that one?
This was fantastic.
I have no idea where the gold bars came from.
I can't wait for the movie of this one.
It's that guy. How he never got arrested before is beyond me.
Right? Yeah, maybe I'll write the movie for this one.
It's your third book.
Yeah, why?
When you cast it in your book, you might use SpongeBob for Bullion Bob.
Could be. So their February dumb story, and I don't know how dumb this one is, but it probably goes to the narcissism of the mainstream media. But here's a picture of David Muir, and he's in the middle of a storm. And I don't know anybody that actually watches ABC News, but if you do, he's constantly wearing, really tight fitting clothing. And here he is. He's got his jacket clothespinned in the back so that it's more tight fitting. Now, I don't know if this ranks among the dumbest stories.
Why do you think I never lean forward in my chair here? Or too far back, for that
the
matter.
clothespin might pop
No,
off.
there are some people that should lean forward in their in their clothes.
Don't go there.
Let me give you an example here. So, in another dumb story,
I told you not to go there.
we had a jean company that
I'm
said,
not here to tell you to buy American Eagle
well,
jeans.
I'll just let you watch it.
And I definitely won't say that they're the most
See,
comfortable
leaning forward.
jeans I've ever worn. Or that they make your butt look amazing. Why would I need to do that? But if you said that you want to buy the jeans, I'm not going to stop you. But just so we're clear, this is not me telling you to buy American Eagle jeans.
Sydney Sweeney, Hasbro jeans.
Yes, so
See
do
what I did there, right?
But so this is not the dumb story here is not the commercial that American Eagle did. I think that was a brilliant marketing move.
Yeah. I mean, it got me to buy some, and I have to say, it's false advertising. It didn't make my butt look good at all.
Well, no, it didn't make my butt look good either, but they are pretty great jeans. But the dumb story here is that you have a company that recognized the moment that we're in, that the entire media is forcing all of us to watch people who are just unattractive. We're erecting statues of overweight people in the middle of Times Square, and every advertisement you see is somebody who is generally unattractive, and that 20 years ago you wouldn't see them in a commercial. But we're all being forced to watch that.
Yeah.
So the jean company said, "Hey, let's put a hot girl in a pair of our jeans," and I bet they sell like hotcakes. The dumb story is all of the media outlets that attacked that ad and said it was racist and it was talking about eugenics.
Right.
And now, Josh, you write ads for a living.
I thought you were going to say, now, Josh, you're a eugenicist.
No, I won't go there yet. But so you write ads for a living. Just tell me about this. What was going on here? Why go after Sydney Sweeney, calling her a eugenicist? And I mean, what was going on there?
Oh, well, I mean, it's the same, what was once a successful attack on there being some kind of, but to answer your question, I want to go back to what you just said. Sure. You said that this was something like an in the moment thing that they recognized in the moment. I think they recognized more than that. What they recognized is from time immemorial, something sells better than others, and that is a hot woman in whatever.
Yeah.
Hawking whatever. And so the kind of postmodernist approach to life is to desex things, is to take away beauty, it's to to sacrifice everything to kind of the Foucault version of life, which is that everything boils down to power, and that's where you get intersectionality and all of that. You're looking at a subset of the American culture that wants to absolutely neuter everything. And this was a company that has been selling jeans and other apparel for decades, and they are like, oh, hey, remember back when we used to sell a lot of stuff because we had hot people? Let's do that again because that really works, and we're gonna take the risk that the woke mob is gonna crucify us because I assume that the logic was the woke thing is either dying out or at least it's experiencing a lull. And so we're gonna reach in and grab that cash, and good for them for having the brains to do that. But the Sydney Sweeney thing, the backlash, it's so absurd that I think it really, I mean, it not only backfired in terms of sales for American Eagle, but it backfired in the court of public opinion.
Big time.
Who are already tired of this goofy nonsense. And I gotta say, as a man who frequently gets dragged with his wife through clothing store after my wife's not listening, by the way, who gets dragged through clothing store after clothing store after clothing store, my only hope has been all the hot women that are modeled up on the walls of these clothing stores. And the last few years have been a desert. And Sydney Sweeney and American Eagle, I thank you and I salute you.
I salute them
I
all.
went into a clothing store with my wife once. And there are certain things that I won't describe that you can do or say out loud or comments you can make about other clientele. And you don't have to go do that.
Anymore.
Trust me on
That's
that one.
the secret.
That's the secret.
The wisdom of the aged, David.
Interestingly enough, one of the first advertising people that introduced like the whole idea of hot women advertising anything was Edward Bernays.
That's true.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you read the book Propaganda.
Although, come on, sex has been selling for a lot longer than
well,
that.
that's true,
He recognized how to package it and put it all.
yeah.
Yeah.
He was the guy that put the hot women smoking cigarettes
Yep.
in an ad.
It goes back farther than that.
Okay. Do
Trust
tell.
me, I know. It goes back to the Garden of Eden. God creates Adam and Eve. They were naked. He says to Adam, be fruitful and multiply. It's only one thing he was paying attention to.
It's very true.
Okay? And so when Satan wanted to intervene, he knew he couldn't try to go get Adam's attention. So what did he do? He co-opted Eve, and she was ready for a break, and so she was going to listen.
Yeah.
That's
well,
Ken's version
there you go.
of Genesis.
Well, let me
Ken's
show
Bible.
you Satan being involved in more dumb stories over the years. Well, the WNBA had a great year with DEI, and the reason we know that is they hired mostly hot white women. Most of the people in the WNBA draft were super great DEI hires.
Can't put that picture up.
Yes, you can.
I can't.
Oh, come on now. See? I mean, can. All right, fine. Don't.
He got it. He got
All right, there we go. And while we're at it, there's another one. See? I mean, great year for DEI, right?
it. Yeah. Here, my question about that is, in men's basketball, the only basketball with which I'm familiar at all, it's mostly black men because they're taller and more athletic.
Sure.
Is that not the case with black women?
I don't know. I don't know that anybody watches the
Yeah,
WNBA.
has anybody ever actually watched one all the way through that could tell us?
I don't think so.
Okay, so it's
there's
an
a-
unstudied science.
There's a reason why women's beach volleyball is one of the most popular female sports.
It's not because
It's
of
not
the
the
sport
skill?
of it. No. But actually, there's also another interesting article I saw. I'm pretty sure it's still on the Blaze, but it was last week, and it was by Jason Whitlock. And he was commenting on the quarterback class of a couple of years ago, where we saw a huge increase in the amount of black quarterbacks. And the quarterbacks that are successful this year are not those. It's mostly white quarterbacks. And the commentary is, look, this isn't racist. This is sports.
Right.
And, we try to reduce everything to race. And, the same thing is true with DEI, that and you mentioned it, it's the postmodern idea that we have to deconstruct everything and that everything boils down to race. Well, the truth is that when you do that, you disregard basic economic and social, I guess, laws that may good way to put it.
Sort of natural laws, yeah.
Right. That men are attracted to hot women, and the guy who's the best quarterback ought to be playing and not the DEI hire. But we saw others, of course it wasn't this year, but Ketanji Brown Jackson on the Supreme Court. In my opinion, of course, I'm not a legal scholar, though I do play one on the radio, definitely not qualified to be a Supreme Court justice. And Biden specifically said he was going to hire a black woman.
Yeah, which I think that's, I don't know if that's an impeachable offense, but,
No.
it's certainly like, it's certainly one of those moments where he should have addressed the nation and said, yeah, I shouldn't have said that. Actually, come to think of it, he should have said that a lot of times.
I was just going to say, if he did that, we'd never watch anything else.
Yeah.
So about Ketanji,
Yes.
she may not have had a great education. She did have a really good speech coach.
Yes, she did.
She did.
The same speech and debate coach that I had,
Yes.
Mr. Ron Kricak.
Our
He
good
lives
friend.
here in Sheridan.
Our
Really?
good friend, yeah.
Yeah, he's a good friend.
And he was also Kelsey Grammer's speech and debate coach.
Oh, fascinating.
Yeah,
cool.
funny story. I was over at Ron's house. This is years ago when I was a freshman in college. Anyway, I'm having dinner at Ron's house and the phone rings, and he never answered the phone during dinner. And so his answering machine picked up. Still, when we had answering machines,
Right.
And it's, hey Ron, this is Kelsey. I'm thinking about bringing the car out this summer. Tell me when you're available. And then beep, click. And I'm like, wait a minute. Was that Kelsey Grammer? And Ron's like, yep, that was him. And it's that type of guy living in Sheridan, Wyoming is pretty surprising.
Yeah, it is kind of weird.
So let's go ahead and take a break. And when we come back, an interesting story about Wyoming journalism. Not that we don't talk about that enough, but we got one in southeast Wyoming submitting false paperwork. We'll talk about that one when we come back. Are you tired of all the meaningless political drivel floating around right now? Endless commentary that really doesn't have anything backing it up? Do you long for the days of true investigative journalism coming from an authoritative source who really doesn't care how popular and apparently good-looking a politician is? Fortunately for you, that's what I do on Cowboy State Politics. New episodes are published every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, and you can get them anywhere that you get your podcasts. iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, really any of them will work. But the easiest way is just to go to the website, cowboystatepolitics.com. There, you can find all of the shows, as well as any of the articles I might bring up during the course of the program. Cowboy State Politics Live, the program you're listening to right now, is broadcast every Tuesday through Friday, beginning at 8 a.m. Pay attention to all of that other block-headed nonsense if you want. Just make sure that you don't miss an episode of Cowboy State Politics. And now, back to our program. Welcome back to the program, Cowboy State Politics Live on a Tuesday. I've got Josh Jennings in the studio.
Best-selling author Josh Jennings.
Best-selling author Josh Jennings.
I'm here too, but I wasn't sitting down when you tried to start again. You just kind of got to let things sit there
I
for a second.
I can't let things marinate, Ken. Welcome back to the program. David Iverson with you. Documented to be even more right than I was yesterday, which was 99% of the time.
I know. You're getting very close to warp 10 there, bud.
I know. All right. So before the break, I told you that we have and I don't even know how to characterize this one, but we have a journalist in Southeast Wyoming that is submitting what looks to be fraudulent paperwork from the Cowboy. An article entitled "Wyoming Agency Says Opponent of Wind Project Filed Fraudulent Documents." And I quote, "The Industrial Siting Division said Monday during a hearing on the Chugwater Wind and Solar Project that a critic filed fraudulent documents to contest it. The critic, a news editor in Southeast Wyoming, says it's the agency that violated the law. The Industrial Siting Division, read that one already, 3 documents a resident and reporter of Southeast Wyoming offered to state permitting authorities in opposition to the large Chugwater area wind and solar project are fraudulent, the Wyoming Industrial Siting Division says. And if you read through the piece, there are representatives from the Attorney General's office that contacted the people, and what it was is a couple of different letters. I think there was a 10-page letter, and then there was an email that she also submitted. And so the Attorney General's office contacted both the purported author of the letter and the purported author of the email, and they said, yeah, we didn't write that. And so I really think after reading this piece, and you can go to the Cowboy and read the whole thing if you want, but I really think it's a case of documents were delivered to this journalist. Her name is Marie Hamilton. And she just said, ooh, look at this. This is great. And forwarded them on. I mean, it's... Yeah. I think I see
rookie
this a
mistake,
lot.
right?
Well, I don't know, because she's not a rookie, but certainly it was an error in not verifying what documents she had.
I think that's a lesson for all of us.
Absolutely.
You watch what's going on with AI and everything else. You see something that you want to see. Mm-hmm. And it's really easy just to jump on that and go, oh, yeah, this is exactly it. And need to be very careful.
Well, not that long ago, a couple of months, I asked, I don't remember which AI model it was, but give me a review of Cowboy State politics. And it turns out I have been a noted and well-respected journalist since 1986.
Wow.
Yes.
That's impressive.
I've been very prolific.
You were...
You got an early start.
Yeah, you finished journalism school and at the same time you finished learning to read, I believe.
Well, yeah, it's absolutely true. I mean, I was writing right out of the gate.
He does say doing what I was born to do.
It's true. All right, back to the piece here for just a second. So the 10-page letter was allegedly written by a doctor. Here's what the Cowboy says. Wise and Mays, allegedly the guy who wrote the letter, together described the first document as a 10-page, Wise and Mays, those are the attorneys. The first document is a 10-page letter written with UC Health letterhead with a signature of Dr. Aaron Meng, dated October 31st. Mays told Wise, and there's lots of names in this article, and it's really hard to keep them straight, said that she contacted Meng to try to authenticate the letter. Quote, he stated that he could not have written that letter since he hadn't worked for UC Health for 2 years. He'd gone on to work at Kaiser Permanente in Colorado. Mays described reaching out to the Kaiser Permanente legal group as well, and she said that she sent the legal group a redacted copy of the letter and only the last page showing the signature block of the letterhead. She described having redacted the name of Hamilton's child. Now, later, Hamilton wrote a complaint that apparently the identity of her kid was exposed in this whole thing. And she's saying, well, look, they violated the law. That's the part that she's claiming they violated the law. But my question here is this something that we see that's pretty widespread in journalism? I mean, Josh, you work for a big media outlet. How much time do you guys spend verifying stuff?
Well, a lot. And I don't work on that side so I don't see all of the research they do, but I'm aware kind of through, daily meetings and such. There is so much research that's done, and even with as much as we do, and we try to get everything right. even then, occasionally things will slip through the cracks and have to be retracted, or, I mean, that's the other side of journalistic integrity is
Yes.
when you do get it wrong, own it
You admit
as
it.
best you can. And yeah, I'm curious too. Like, I would be fascinated to know who forged these documents, and if they're ever going to come to any kind of justice.
Well, I think it's pretty hard to say. I mean, I get a lot of stuff sent to my email that, okay, for one reason or another, I don't run with it. But often it's that, I don't know that I can verify exactly what it is. And I tell everybody, when I get a phone call, all right, do you have a picture of it? Is it on paper? Because if you don't have a picture, if it's not recorded, if it's not on paper, it didn't happen.
Right. Yeah.
And I think way too often news outlets just run with something. And, the credible ones, like the one you work for, when you get it wrong, you admit it. That's what I try to do.
Right.
And, the phrase I learned from your boss was you lead with your mistakes, always.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, that was, if I may be permitted to go a little bit into
Go
ahead. That was actually something that kind of made me fall in love with working for Glenn Beck, because I when I first went to work there, I did not work specifically for him. I was working on another show, and I was familiar with Glenn Beck. I had seen him on TV when I was a kid. I'd heard him on the radio, but I wasn't like super familiar with him. Like, I wasn't familiar with him the way that we were with Rush Limbaugh, because we listened to him every day. But I started listening to him when I went to work there, because I remember thinking, like, I've heard this guy's crazy. I've heard people talk about how insane he is. Yeah, and I thought, am I working for somebody that I'm
From some Looney Tune.
Yeah, that I'm going to regret working in, even just in his sphere of influence. And I started listening to him, and that's exactly what he did. He talked about, I think the very first episode that I listened to was him talking about, hey, here's the list of mistakes that I've made in the past that I've had to own to become who I am today. And I think by the first or second episode, I was like, oh no, this guy's
He's legit.
He's legit, and I'm happy to be, working in his company, and I couldn't be prouder to be working for him now.
Did you read his book? I think it was Arguing with Idiots.
I wrote that book. No,
No,
I have a signed copy of Arguing with Idiots,
Yeah.
and I will confess, and I hope you're not listening, Glenn, I have not finished it. I've read parts of it. But
Well,
when you
it's-
listen to him every day, you're hearing a lot of what's in the book. So
yeah, it's not a sit down and read book.
yeah.
It's kind of like a coffee table book, actually. There's a lot like looking at a scrapbook. But if you pay a little bit of attention as you look through that book, you realize the analytical type of mind. He's the type of person that would put up a chalkboard. I hate chalkboards. and then draw everything out step by step.
Yeah.
And that's, I fell in love with watching him when he was back on Fox.
Yeah.
Well, you've often heard me say, don't believe a word that I say. Don't. I mean, if you walk,
we don't.
I know. No, you shouldn't. I mean, if you walk into a room and you say something stupid like, because David said so, first, you're kind of an idiot for saying that. But second, you're going to be laughed out of the room, even though I do my homework and I know that I'm right about it.
Yeah, and let's not gild the lily too much here, or whatever the opposite of gild the lily is. Like, if I walk into a room and somebody says to me, "David said so," I can take it at least halfway to the bank that it's going to be true.
All right.
Come on.
So one of the first times I ever got fact checked, I had done an episode about funding of education in Wyoming, and I had made the outrageous claim that in the past 4 years that enrollment in Wyoming schools had gone down about 1,900 students. But during the same time period, we had hired 3,600 administration and staff type people. And I mean, I didn't think anything of it because I was right. And it was the only fact that was actually a fact, because I saw the document myself. I just didn't have a copy of it. But it was the only one that I didn't have the document on my website so you could verify it. And pretty soon I start getting hammered with emails from the Buffalo Bulletin. Prove this, show me the document. Where's this at? This isn't a fact. This can't be true. And, I just respond, well, actually it is true. If you looked into it yourself, you would know that. But that's about all I could say because I didn't have it. So I called somebody on the education committee. It was Chip Nyman, who's now the Speaker of the House. And right. I said, all right, Chip, I'm in kind of a pickle. I quoted you and you didn't have the document. He goes, oh, no problem, man. Hit record. I'll tell you all about it. And so, the next episode was the interview with Chip saying, oh, no, here's where it comes from. And, of course, I took the link and sent it directly to the newspaper and, put it online with screenshots. Newspaper tries to fact check me. Turned out bad for them, and used it. But that's what you have to do. Right. Even if you're not in the media, if you're just a guy or a person that watches the show and you hear something, go check it out.
Right.
And the reason you do that is so you can make the argument yourself.
And I don't want to speak for you, but I'm going to speak for you for a second.
Go ahead.
I would assume that you would say to every listener out there, hey, if you hear me say something and it sounds like it's wrong, and you go find out that it is wrong, let me know, because I would rather be right than wrong.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Ken, what do you think? You've been quiet.
I don't mind being wrong. Just read any newspaper article about me.
Man, and there have been a bunch of them recently. So you've been off for a while, off legislating. Tell us what's happening on appropriations.
We are headed back. I'm actually headed down on New Year's Day to Cheyenne. We've got meetings all weekend. We'll go through another 2 weeks. The first week, we will have the remaining agencies in the state, which we haven't seen, which come to us and bring their budget requests. And then the last week, we will assemble that budget. We call it Mark It Up. Mm-hmm. And trust me, we're already marking it up. And there's a lot of red.
So I did have a question from a viewer/listener yesterday. And the question was, how far along do you think that you'll get in cutting the Business Council or the Department of Health or any of those places that you're trying to make reductions?
Wyoming Business Council first. I think we have the votes.
Okay.
I don't want to say too much because the more that I say, the more stupid stuff they do and putting themselves. You notice from July when I came out with the statement, and it actually made it into the papers. I've been saying this for a year now. They have been extremely active, spending your tax dollars going around and selling themselves. They put together a really nice 4-color bloviation piece and mailed actually not one but 2 copies to every legislator, which those of us on appropriations were fascinated by that because it cost $3 just to mail one. Anyway,
I'm gonna need to know how to access that for when I'm getting my governor campaign rolling.
Oh yeah, well, trust me, we got an inside track there.
Good.
So I'm pretty confident that we'll be able to do some damage there. You never really know until it hits the floor. The people that I talk to, the people that we're working with on appropriations are all for it.
That's a great slogan for you guys too. You never really know until it hits the floor.
We need a T-shirt, eh?
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
As it relates to the Wyoming Business Council, I've got that soundbite from Josh Durrell just for Josh's edification, so you understand exactly who we're talking about.
What my fellow Josh is saying.
What your fellow Josh.
Oh, you guys are not fellows.
You do not want to be associated with this guy. But here's a little montage that I put together for you.
The free market as an ideal, unfortunately, it doesn't exist except at maybe those ivory tower type institutions that we might call as in academia, and that's where it exists because it's a model. It's not about having a super small government. It's having an appropriately sized government that's important. And for the problem that we're looking to solve, we're not appropriately sized. We are indeed too small.
The free market is actually not free, but you have to remember those markets are working.
Okay,
The market is working against us. So we have to use government intervention to actually reverse that. I know all of you.
There will need to be government interventions if we wish Wyoming to compete in the U.S. economy. And that's the perspective that we have. And we do have a few of those interventions, and as palatable or as needing Benadryl as they might be to some of us, they're necessary if we want to compete with the other states.
Well, he said the word Wyoming, so I know he didn't just wake up from a coma and assume he was still in California or something. I don't get it.
Wow, right?
What's this guy's deal? Why is he living here?
Well, he's the one.
He's living here because we're paying him $24,000 a month.
Yeah.
You're right.
He's not stupid.
Yeah, but that's the guy who's in charge of hundreds of millions of dollars worth of tax dollars.
Oh, you know what? I am so sorry, Josh. I misjudged you. Please reach out to me. I'd like to talk to you about several lucrative, we'll call them government programs I'd like to get you on board with.
We'll be moving to Minnesota soon.
Yeah. Assalamu alaikum.
Somebody. So you also mentioned the Department of Health. Department of Health, basically a $3 billion budget ask. And we said, man, there's got to be some slack in there somewhere. So we had and I'm kind of filling anybody that may not be up to speed in. I chaired a subcommittee that we didn't really doge, but we tried to look and just see, where's this money going? Is it being spent efficiently? And we found some things that are of concern, and we're at the stage now where I have some ideas about where to go next, but I need more data from the Department of Health. And quite frankly, we do have the holidays, but they're kind of dragging their feet at getting information, at getting information back to me. I've said many times publicly, we're not going in there trying to just slash and burn and hack and take benefits away from people. We're effective that any money that we take away from them is going to affect lives. But if there are people who are receiving benefits that should not be, that are not properly entitled, maybe they just came from Minnesota, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's not how we do things in Wyoming, and they're about to find that out. So we're still working on that. The jury's still out. University of Wyoming is also one of my agencies, got a lot of issues there.
Well, there was that recent piece criticizing how much money we throw at the University of Wyoming. And Josh, the school here is no different than any other college or university. They've got tens of millions, perhaps $100 million stashed away.
Right.
They've got it's called the Cowboy Joe Club, but it's their private boosters.
Right.
They've got jillions of dollars, and yet every session, it's almost like every funding bill. $100 million for UW here.
Please, sir.
Yeah.
I want some more.
Exactly right. But when you have a state that has been run by a bunch of socialists for, God, I don't know, the last 20, 30, perhaps 50 years, and tax dollars are really easy to get a hold of, that's what you learn, right?
Yeah.
You don't need any money management or anything because you can just go to the legislature and get more.
Right.
And that's what they've been doing.
Can I ask what might be a fairly naive question?
Well, you can in just a second, but your reference to Oliver is always before has an agency asked for more.
Yeah, right. Okay, you were talking about people receiving benefits in this state that should not be receiving them. Given the population of Wyoming is so comparatively small with other states, shouldn't that be a much easier thing to check and root out? Wouldn't it be possible to have a committee that specifically goes after that?
Well, they actually have a division within there that goes and verifies, and I think by and large they do a pretty good job. I don't think there's any rampant, flagrant issues.
Oh, okay.
But I know from various stories, various incidents, there are people taking advantage and gaming the system. Anybody,
Sure.
any, you know,
I mean, you're
those
going to
things
have
happen.
some of it no matter what.
Yeah.
But
So we're just trying to minimize that. And the biggest thing is, you don't know until you ask and go look.
mhm,
We could have uncovered a rat's nest,
of course, yeah.
and that's not necessarily what we found. And I'm glad to see that. But for a state our size, and I've made this before, you know, we don't have a professional football team here in Wyoming because we don't have enough people
That's
to,
not
to
true.
pay for it.
You know
And
why we
yet-
don't?
Yeah,
Because
I know.
if we had one,
You stole that.
Colorado would want one too.
Yeah, number one team in the FC right now.
Yeah, I don't really care.
I know. Anyway, yeah, I've used that joke. It's one of those things that until you look, you don't know, and it's my responsibility to know.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna sign a check, so to speak,
Right.
for all of these agencies, I need to know that it's going to be spent in the best interest of the Wyoming people.
Right.
And if I've never examined them, I'm just kind of taking somebody at their word, and that can be a slippery slope.
All right. Well, I've got one more soundbite for you. Since we have Josh here, I think and considering where you work, this one should kind of pique your interest. But it's Josh Durrell again. Listen to this.
But barring all of those circumstances,
It's a
businesses ought to be able to
excerpt from
freely
the
operate
podcast.
and conduct
gotcha.
their affairs as they see fit without undue influence from government. But Josh Durrell evidently doesn't believe in that. Here he is saying it again.
The free market as an ideal, unfortunately, it doesn't exist except
Okay,
at,
this is the one that you heard.
maybe those
Right.
ivory tower type institutions that we might call as in academia, and that's where it exists because it's a model.
All right, you've got that part. But Josh Durrell goes farther than that. He claims that we ought to create an economic system. A system, no doubt, that involves him interfering wherever he chooses. It's his job, even, to create one. Here he is saying it.
I believe it's our job to give opportunities to those people that want to stay in Wyoming, but don't see a future. Now, I don't believe it's our job to give them that. Let me restate that. I believe it's our job to develop a system, an economic system, that will allow for those people to reach their potential here.
So he thinks it's his job to create an economic system. Holy crap.
Not just an economic system that will allow people to
Yes.
succeed. Also, I want to go back to the first thing that he said there. I love that the free market is an idea in academia.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't feel like there's a whole lot of like free market 101 courses
If
in most academic situations.
if you had actually seen the rest of that in context, that's exactly the point that John Baer brought up when that was there.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And he came back and cited like a Newsweek article that talked about how left-leaning academia is.
Yeah.
And he said, if this is the concept that you're looking at, we've got problem.
Oh, there's no more, I think, clear indicator to me that the free market is the kind of natural order of the world than the fact that it has to emerge out of academia, or sorry, through academia out of society. I mean, it's not. I was never taught that in college, but I knew about it, of course, because I'm Mark Jennings' son. But you know, it emerges because it's the natural order of mankind to seek that. So. Yeah, this guy's wrong.
So a really, really, really good example of this is if there was one industry where you shouldn't be able to create your own business, that the market is so locked down, that it is so one way, that there's no way possible that you could create another platform and be successful at it, it's the media. I mean, the media for, man, you can go past Walter Cronkite. I mean, they were way, way, way liberal. Even, I mean, and maybe he didn't notice it because there wasn't a 24/7 news cycle, but certainly now, I mean, all of the big networks and even
They at least made an attempt to kind of hide it or
well,
cover
yeah, a
it.
little bit, but there again, I think it's because we didn't have news 24/7 all the time, 4 different channels.
Well, and you can even, but even then, you can go to pre-World War I to the yellow journalism years, and it's predominant there as well. Like
Yeah.
I would love to know, has there ever actually been a golden age of media, or
No.
is that just a story we tell ourselves every 100 years that there was this period of time when journalism was awesome and then it got bad again? I suspect it never happened. There's just always been good journalists among the crap.
Okay, so there has never been a golden age of journalism. However, there has been an age where at least media outlets were more honest about what they were doing. I mean, if you look at the history of newspapers, a lot of them were called, and I'm just making up fictitious names here, but you can Google them and you'll find similar examples like the Philadelphia Republican, the Cleveland Democrat. At least they were honest.
Yeah.
And, at the beginning of a campaign season, and they still do this to some degree, but they would come out and endorse candidates.
Yeah.
We endorse the Republican. But we're so far past that. But here's my point. If there were ever a time where you shouldn't be able to create a new business and that the free market shouldn't work in this area, it's the media. Now, I remember watching your boss on Fox when he said, I'm going to create my own internet TV station. And everybody in the media, oh, Beck's crazy. Beck's going down. Beck's done. And here we are 20 years later, and he has a giant media organization. I know. I've been there. I tried to steal the Rush Limbaugh microphone. No, okay, not really. But I would have really liked to take it out of there.
Yeah, we have
2 of
armed
them.
people in the building. It's the problem with that.
Little did you know. Anyway, but you shouldn't have been able to create. Beck shouldn't have been able to do that. If what Josh Durrell says is true, that the free market, it's just an idea. It just exists in some ivory tower somewhere.
Right.
Well, then that shouldn't have been able to happen. Similarly, this program. Now, it's nowhere, not even a comparison.
Oh, it's
but,
not? I'm done then. Bye,
yeah,
guys.
I know,
No.
right? But I shouldn't have been able to become the #1 podcast in the state. I shouldn't be on the top 100 podcasts in America. I shouldn't be on, and I not anymore, but I'm now number 41 on the list. Oh boy! But I shouldn't have been able to do that. Right?
That's because I've been gone for a while.
That's true. That's
your fault,
exactly
Ken.
what the problem is. But the truth is that the free market actually does exist, and it does work, and it's one of the most beautiful things that God ever created. And it is, it is really to our discredit that we have somebody like Josh Durrell and others in our government. And it happens in every state. You've got a fantastic guy as Speaker of the House in Texas. We should do a podcast about him someday. Oh,
Hey, you want me to get shot? Like, what's your...
Speaking of podcasts, Josh and his dad, Mark, and his mom, Dana, and I also do another podcast. It's called Politics Reloaded, and you can find it on Substack. We average, unfortunately, about an episode a month.
Yep, that's about where we're at.
But,
That's how long it takes to listen to one, though.
yeah, it's true. It is kind of long.
They are long format.
Yeah,
I'll just say that.
Yeah, we usually run about an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Yeah. But go check it out. It's on Substack. It's an interesting conversation. It's an interesting
a lot of fun.
look at the news. It's a heck of a lot of fun. And we actually did one here in the studio. Was it yesterday? No.
Day before yesterday.
Day before yesterday. So that one will be coming out soon.
I did hear that, but I haven't seen my royalty check yet.
Yeah, you're not going to get one because Josh and I are embezzling every cent.
Every cent that comes through. And we just keep telling the others, like, man, this podcast is just not making any money at all.
Yeah, we don't know how long this is going to be able to go on.
Yeah.
How much of that money that you're embezzling, I will have to know, is going to your publisher to keep putting out that dribble that you write?
Well, I don't kiss and tell, so.
On that note, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll have Chuck Gray, candidate for U.S. Representative.
I know. The weather seems to be toying with us. 60 one day, 42 the next, and pretty soon, my friends, those 6s and 4s are going to turn into 3s and 2s. Though we all want to avoid it, that white stuff is coming, my friends, and you will be shoveling the walk in it. It's cold, it's unpleasant, and nobody likes to do it. But you could make it just a little bit more comfortable and prevent your feet from turning into a giant block of ice. In fact, you could keep them nice and warm and toasty, and your toes will never even know that they're outside. The rest of you may be frozen solid, but at least your feet won't be. To make all this happen, you just need a pair of socks from the Buffalo Wool Company. They are the finest socks that I've ever put on my feet. To get you a pair, go to their website, thebuffalowoolco.com. Trust me, you won't be disappointed. Are you one of those guys that listen to the president just a little bit too closely and now you're tired of winning? Are you getting the feeling that there's been way too many good things happening in our country and you just can't take it anymore? Well, if you are, and you think you should follow Rosie O'Donnell's example and get the heck out of Dodge, you need to call Rebecca Bextel at eXp Realty. She'll make those foreign country living ideas a reality for you. All you have to do is call 307-699-3519, and she'll make sure some freedom-loving, red-blooded American will now live in the home that you no longer want. If you want to sell your house, or if you want to buy one that's way better than the house you have right now, give Rebecca a call. Again, her phone number is 307-699-3519.
I've never felt the freedom like I do. I feel stronger every day, don't you? Well, I can show you how. A new day, a new way. Watch out, I'm only gonna get stronger. A new day, a new way. Watch out, I'm only gonna get stronger. A new day, a new way. Watch out, I'm only gonna get stronger. A new day, a new way. Watch out, I'm only gonna get stronger. I've never felt the freedom like I do. I feel stronger every day. I'm only gonna get stronger.
Welcome back to the program, Cowboy State Politics Live on a Tuesday. I've got Josh Jennings. I finally have Ken back in the studio, and I have now candidate for the U.S. House of Representatives, Secretary of State Chuck Gray. Chuck, welcome to the program.
Yes, great to be on. Thanks for having me, David.
Well, glad we could set this up on short notice. So, you're going to run for Congress, man. Talk to me.
Yes, we launched here. We are ready to go. I'm very excited about running for U.S. House. When we heard about Senator Lummis's decision, I started praying about where in 26 what I wanted to do, and also sought out wise counsel, talked to Wyomingites. And this is sort of where I landed, where I kind of discerned that I thought I could make a huge difference for our state, for the citizens of Wyoming, go back to being a legislator for a little bit, and work on federal issues at the federal level.
Excellent. Now, a lot of people thought that you were going to run for governor. I mean, you and Mark Gordon have, well, let's just be honest, been kind of going at each other for a while. Rightfully so, I think, Chuck. And I've been very impressed that how many times you've been the lone vote against, all of Mark Gordon's, woke wind projects, tilting at windmills, whatever you want to call it. So talk to me about the decision-making calculus that went into whether you're going to run for the House or run for governor. I mean, how did that all work? Because I thought maybe you'd run for governor.
Well, it's pretty simple. And I know the media, and I'm not putting you in this boat, but I've gotten a lot of questions like this. The media is focused on the moving pieces, the dominoes, and trying to create this sort of soap opera narrative. But it really was antithetical to that. It was me just sitting down, praying, talking to others about where things were at in the state of Wyoming and where I could be an instrument to advance what the people of Wyoming want. And I think that this is where we landed once I found out that Cynthia Lummis was retiring and then Harriet ran for U.S. Senate, made the decision that I made. And one of the things about it that I think this proves, I mean, the media has always been saying, well, this was a game going after how liberal Gordon is, that this was all about setting up a gubernatorial run. It was never about that. It was always about the issues for me with this liberal Mark Gordon, and the fact that the media will not do anything to expose the truth about what is happening down here in Cheyenne with his administration. And I've come to the conclusion that if I'm not going to do it, that the truth's not going to get out there. I mean, you look at what he is trying to do in putting all these woke wind projects in throughout the state of Wyoming before the end of his term. It was about the issues for me, and that woke wind is inconsistent with our values as Wyomingites. Just look at President Trump in the One Big Beautiful Bill working to get the Obama-Biden subsidies out of federal law. And then you have the governor of the state of Wyoming, a state where President Trump got his largest margin of victory 3 presidential elections in a row, doing the exact opposite of the Republican mandate that was received. I mean, it was always about the issues for me. It's always what it's been about. And we're going to continue to talk about the truth.
Well, one thing that amazed me is you've got 5 people on the SLID board, which the State Lands and Investment Board, and all of them claim to be conservative. One of them is probably going to end up running for governor, and all of them, except for you, voted pretty much in lockstep with Governor Gordon on, I don't know how many different votes there were, but it was a lot. I mean, it just blew my mind that they think that Wyoming citizens are so convinced that they're conservative that they can do anything they want and then still win elections. But I don't think they are, Chuck. I mean, I think that I think a majority of Wyoming citizens very much don't see it that way. What's your opinion?
I think a lot of it is going to be about getting the word out on what is happening. The reality is the media, I call it the troika, the group that tries to stop conservative policy. I call it the troika. It's the insiders, the big money, the Democrats, the media. That's the 3 parts of the troika. And the media is an integral part of how they try to control the narrative. It's important. Shows like yours, what I tried to do when I used to have a radio show in Casper, was to actually get the other side out there. That's what we have to do. It's up to us, I'm afraid, because the media is not going to do it. They want the most liberal candidate to win in every single race, period. And they basically serve their quote unquote coverage serves as sort of an unofficial in-kind donation.
Yes.
To the insiders. I mean, if you were to put a value, for example, when I ran in 2022.
I was just going to ask you about this.
I mean, if you were to put a value, by the way, we were Trump endorsed and in that race. And we did a lot of great work in advancing President Trump's agenda as Secretary of State. I want to do that as a member of the U.S. House. But if you were to put a value on all the things the insider media did to try to lift up Tara Nethercott's campaign, including in the last 2 weeks of the election, engaging in this narrative that was concocted by supporters of Nethercott that there was a campaign finance violation that they put on the front page of every single newspaper almost in the state of Wyoming. And it took me 6 months to exonerate myself. I mean, it was totally bogus. But the last 2 weeks of the election, they basically flooded flooded the airwaves with these false nonsense allegations. So that's what they do. If you were to put a value on that, it was probably about $700,000 to $750,000.
Yeah, I was going to say probably around $1 million.
Worth of basically in-kind advertising for the insider candidate in that race, eclipsing spending from both candidates. So in answer to your question, David, I mean, results ultimately are up to the Lord. And I know that the truth will win out in the long run, no matter what. But I think it is up to us to every day speak truth to power, to get the word out about what is actually happening and push back on the media nonsense that is false.
Well, speaking of media nonsense, I have in the studio with me a guy you might know. His name is Josh Jennings. You can't see him just because of the camera angles, but he's got a question for you.
Hi, Chuck. I'm brother to somebody who knows you very well and works for you, and speaks extremely highly of you. I just was curious on the procedural end. As an out-of-stater, this might be something that's obvious to everybody, but to go back to what you were talking about with the kind of the woke wind projects and stuff like that, I'm curious, sort of procedurally, like when you get in, what can you do to slow that down, and in fact, perhaps even reverse some of that as you go forward? What does that look like logistically? And that
Josh,
would serve as an example for other types of things that you would be doing as well. Just this is how you approach things.
Thank you, Josh. And yes, your sister Kristen is an executive assistant in our office. She has just done an incredible job. She is such a hard worker and a huge asset to the citizens of the state of Wyoming. Just to give an idea of how effective our Secretary of State's office has been, I mean, we bring in $70 million per year, lowering taxes for the people of Wyoming. That helped to pay for this property tax reduction. Now, we gotta get more. We've got to get more property tax reduction. That's another thing that Mark Gordon and the Insider Group has blocked. But our office has done a great job, and Kristen, really appreciate all her work in working for the citizens of the state of Wyoming. In answer to your question, it's pretty simple. We've got to put everybody on an even playing field. And these Obama-Biden subsidies that they put in place for these green boondoggle woke wind projects. And we have to call it what it is. It is woke wind. It is really catching on. I know the radical left hates it when I use that term, but that's what it is, woke wind. And it is totally the opposite of our clean, big, beautiful coal, which of course President Trump has done a wonderful job of coining. We have to lift up our clean, big, beautiful coal, oil and gas, ag, soda ash industries, and we need to push back on everything Obama and Biden have done to put in place these out-of-control subsidies, these boondoggle grants. Just to give an idea of what this has led to. In Converse County, and there's also a section of it in Niobrara County. And I am not making this up, David.
This is crazy.
This is not made up, okay? You have a foreign company from Spain and Germany that wants to plop down wind turbines. And it's not just woke wind. Then they want to take the wind. They want to use a water-intensive process to produce hydrogen. Of course, water is gold. And we've got to work to protect our water rights. There's a lot on that we need to do at the federal level. That's another issue. But they want to use our precious water resource in this Rube Goldberg machine-like contraption to produce hydrogen. And they're not done yet. Then they want to take the hydrogen and produce synthetic jet fuel, pipe it down to Denver International Airport so their friends, Soros, Hans-Jörg Wyss, all these woke billionaires can claim that they're being green when they take their private jets to Davos or who knows where. That's what they want to do. That's the proposal.
It's absolutely the truth.
Now,
Wow.
Does that sound efficient to you? Does that sound like an efficient use of land, of water, of all the inputs of electricity that go into this? Of course not. It's like a Rube Goldberg. You couldn't make it up in a simulation. And yet that is what the other 4 members of the State Board of Land Commissioners voted for. We also, in that original meeting in April, pointed out all of the legal issues with the contracts. The fact that a foreign company, a company owned by foreign interests, could assign the rights of the lease to anybody. The fact that the board's rules say that these wind leases have to be used for electricity to the grid, not for some Rube Goldberg contraption. And what did Mark Gordon do at the meeting when we started pointing out these legal issues? He said, we're going into executive session. And then he hit everything in executive session when we got the bogus legal advice from the board's attorneys. And then he said, I can't talk about it at all in open session. I can't talk about the other side at all because we went into executive session. And we can't even get the response from attorneys that get it and the people of Wyoming that were there to talk about the board's rules. He wouldn't even let that debate happen. Not a surprise, lo and behold, that then this district court judge in Converse County, Judge Peasley, did the right thing and struck the lease down. Now, at that point, the board should have done the right thing and upheld the law and said, no, we're not moving forward with these wind leases. But no, the Wyoming Attorney General stepped in and said that he was going to appeal this on his own. Now, originally, when we got the notice of what had happened in Converse County, that the lease had been struck down, they told us that the board would have to vote whether to appeal. And if we had said no appeal, we would have won on this issue, and the truth would have won out. But as soon as they got wind, because I was working hard on it, excuse the pun, as soon as they got wind of the fact that I was working to try to get a majority of the board to block the appeal, which would have meant that the lease was done, then Gordon and Keith Couts come back and say, well, the Attorney General is going to step down and step in and do it on his own. And so the board wasn't even able to consider this appeal. The fact that the board, who granted the lease, is not considering the appeal presents all sorts of questions about how this has been handled by the Wyoming Attorney General and the governor, because you know the governor's hands are all over this, not to mention the fact that the Attorney General serves at the pleasure of the governor. But this is just sort of an example, and I know I spent 4 or 5 minutes laying all that out, but this is one of the tactics they use, David, is they make it so convoluted that to explain it in a press release, it's very difficult. And then when I try to explain it, they call me a liar. And Claire McFarland and all these liberal reporters always give him the last word, so you can't respond to his lie, which is that he called me a liar. And then everything he said when he gave the reasons why my statement was false are just ludicrous. But you can't even respond because they don't let you respond.
Right. Well,
and we just have to keep doing what we do. We have to stay positive and continue getting the word out there. Your show plays a huge role in it.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that. But it's obvious to me that we're not going to be able to get any of this accomplished, things being as they are in Wyoming. I mean, we're making headway. We're getting more conservatives in office, but I think you can do a lot more at the federal level. Ken's got a question for you.
Hey, Chuck, this is Ken. You mentioned your office when you were talking, and of course, a lot of people say, "Man, Chuck's done such a great job. Do we really want to surrender him to D.C.?" And I can see pros and cons to both.
We'll send him with a couple bodyguards.
Yeah, I should mention that I did speak with Rachel, and she mentioned that we could mention her name. She is seriously considering a run for your office. But beyond that, would you be able to comment on what happens in your office after you're out of there? How do we maintain the great work that you've done thus far?
Well, elections have consequences. As de Gaulle said, I mean, the cemeteries are full of indispensable people.
Yep.
And I believe in rotation in office. I do. I believe in not staying in one place forever. I believe that public service is a moment in time. I've always believed in term limits. I plan on bringing the term limit resolution as a member of Congress. I brought it as a state legislator. I brought the term limits resolution for state legislators. And of course, the people of Wyoming in 1991 voted by a 76 20 to 24% margin to have term limits that was then struck down by the Wyoming Supreme Court. So I've always believed in rotation. I know folks are nervous out there, and I get that, but this is part of the process. And I think it's very important. Elections have consequences. It's very important that a conservative continues the groundwork that we laid. And I think Rachel is a great person to do that. She would be a great candidate.
So, I mean, we can debate the value of term limits, but just one question on it. Don't we already have term limits? Aren't they called elections?
That is a form of a term limit. So that's one way of having a term limit. But the other way is to have a cap on the number of years that somebody can serve. So there's two ways of doing it. And I think that the first way is one way, but I think having a cap is good as well. I think it's good to have that rotation.
All right, fair enough. We've got a couple of minutes left with you, Chuck, and I appreciate you taking the time to visit with us.
Yeah, 24/7. I'm available 24/7. Just let me know.
Don't tempt me. Well, so why don't you just take a few minutes and give me your elevator pitch? What are the things that you want to accomplish? I mean, we talked about the woke wind stuff, but what are the other things you want to accomplish when you get to the U.S. House of Representatives?
I really want to effectively advance the Make America Great Again agenda that received the highest margin of victory 3 presidential elections in a row. And President Trump continues to need that backup from the U.S. Congress. That's important, that the U.S. Congress is backing up the great work of President Trump. Now, what does that mean? One, we have to be advancing Wyoming industries, real industries, coal, oil and gas, ag, soda ash, all of which, by the way, have been under attack by the Democrats for decades. This Clinton, Obama, Biden, Harris, woke clown show. And it has exacted a toll. We have to be real on that. And there has been great work done over the past year to push back on the green subsidies, the boondoggle subsidies that they put in place, but there is more that needs to be done to remove the subsidies that remain, to remove the grants, quote unquote, for these green boondoggles that have remained, not to mention the fact that we've got to get new access to new markets for our coal. The fact that these left-wingers in Oregon, Washington State, California are blocking our access to new markets for our coal, it is offensive. It is disgusting. And the U.S. Congress needs to use its leverage that they have to make sure that the truth wins out and the Constitution is upheld, meaning that we are able to cite all of these coal exports terminals that have been talked about. And the support needs to be provided, because what they did is the left dried up all of the access to capital for these terminals because they put so many obstacles in place. And investors are concerned in the long run about whether that'll come back if the pendulum shifts at some point. So we need to push back on that, to make sure that we are advancing Wyoming industries. Look at soda ash. I mean, that synthetic soda ash thing that China's putting out, that is a trade violation, David. That's a trade violation that China is using to try to hurt our beautiful, and it's big too, big, beautiful soda ash industry. It's a big, beautiful coal industry. It's a big, beautiful soda ash industry. And then, of course, the left's attack on ag, on usages of water that, and they try to basically crowd out ag in every single way. They want consolidations that are inconsistent with family-run operations. We need to support family-run operations. It's very important that that these rampant consolidations that are happening out there, that there aren't sort of artificial forces leading to those consolidations. Because what does that do? It increases prices, and it's a security issue as well. And then we've got to break the meat packer monopoly that is really hurting our producers here in Wyoming, David. And that monopoly is real. I think it's awesome that the DOJ is investigating any monopolistic practices that are out there. I really think big part of this is supporting our Wyoming core industries that are consistent with our values, and not this woke clown show stuff that the radical left is pushing, that is wasteful, that is not going to lead to job growth, and not going to lead to any growth in Wyoming's economy that's going to be long-term sustainable.
All right, great.
We've got to continue to push back on the Biden inflation and also election integrity. David,
I was wondering if you were going to bring that one up.
SAVE Act, proof of citizenship for registering to vote at the federal level. Just like what we got done in Wyoming in the 2025 session, we got to get done at the federal level.
All right, I got one more question for you. I've got just a couple of minutes. And perhaps I'm putting you on the spot a little bit, but I don't think you'll mind. You're the Secretary of State. What's your opinion on all this Gordon running for a third term business? Can he, can't he? What's your thoughts?
Well, we've been very clear that we follow the law. I always follow the law. And despite the fact that we've seen a lot of machinations from the governor's office in terms of adherence to the law, just look at these wind leases. We follow the law, unlike some of their practices over time. And the law is very clear. In 1991, the people of Wyoming, via the initiative process, passed a term limit for governor in Wyoming. It was a 76% to 24% vote. It was overwhelming. And the initiative said that any one individual can't serve more than 8 years in any 16-year period. So it's a 16-year period. It's not a lifetime cap. It's a 16-year period. So in theory, somebody could not run and then come back at a later time. That's what the law says. Now, the Supreme Court, the Wyoming Supreme Court, struck down the term limits for state legislators and the other 4 statewide electeds: Secretary of State, Treasurer, Auditor, and Superintendent of Public Instruction. That's what they struck down. The governor's term limit they left intact and in place, and it is still in Wyoming state law. I invite the media, Claire McFarland, any of the left-wing media that has pushed back on this, just open up Title 22 of Wyoming state law, and you'll see that the subsection of the term limit statute that pertains to governor is still in the code. I am going to enforce the law, and one of the things we do is we receive the applications for statewide office holders and legislative offices. We don't receive the applications for counties or municipal. That's the local county clerks. And we're going to adhere to the law in terms of receiving those applications. And clearly, according to Wyoming law, that application for a third term is not allowed. Now, he could then sue me. I think there's some legal things he could do ahead of that decision in candidate filing. I've talked to, I know some attorneys have theorized on this. He could do that, but I'm not going to do that for him. I know in the past there's been kind of this buddy up where former Secretary of States have sort of done that sort of thing on their own, where they do some preemptive action in the courts. That's nonsense. That's not the way the system works. I'm not into that sort of insider game. That's why they don't like me. So I'm not doing that. He will have to sue. That's who has standing. It's him himself. He has to sue. And if he did, we'll see what the Supreme Court did. I mean, they did evaluate the other cases, and it was struck down in the other cases. And at that time, the Wyoming governor didn't challenge it.
Right.
So it was a sort of narrowly tailored decision. But that analysis is that analysis, and that's fine. That's the process.
Okay.
We can disagree with that, but it needs to be done properly. And the law is very clear right now that application could not be valid for a third term, so it would have to be challenged in the courts.
Perfect. Well, Chuck, thank you for taking the time this morning. I really appreciate it. Good luck.
Thank you.
I'm sure we'll
All
be
right,
talking to you
David.
again.
Always good seeing you.
All right. Thanks, Chuck. All right. That was Secretary of State Chuck Gray running for the U.S. House of Representatives. We'll have a little reaction when we come back. Make sure that you subscribe and follow the Cowboy State Politics podcast. You can do that from the website, cowboystatepolitics.com, or anywhere that you get your podcasts. That way, you'll make sure that you won't miss a single episode of Cowboy State Politics. Hunting season. Right about now, you're off with all of your pals, stalking the big gigantic elk or buck mule deer that you've been thinking about all summer long. And your lovely wife is at home, probably enjoying her time without you. But soon, my friend, all of that is going to come to a screeching halt. And I want you to think about just one little thing. She's able to park her car inside the garage because all of your hunting crap is with you right now. Now, if you'd like the marital bliss to continue, I suggest you make a call to Marcos and Jesse at Morton Buildings. Their phone number is 307-674-2532. They can build you a garage or a barn or any other type of metal structure for you to store all of your toys in so that your wife can continue parking inside the garage. And you can avoid sleeping on the couch for the next month or two. Call Morton Buildings. Their phone number is 307-674-2532. Get them to build you a metal building before it's too late. Welcome back to the program, Cowboy State Politics Live. It's December 30th. I'm David Iverson, doing what I was born to do with talent given to me by God himself. Welcome back to the program. I've got, of course, my producer and Josh Jennings.
Best-selling author.
Best-selling author, Josh Jennings. So we just had Secretary of State Chuck Gray on.
Long-time reader.
Long-time reader.
You're my favorite kind of person.
So we just had Secretary of State Chuck Gray on. What are our thoughts?
I'm certainly glad that we've got somebody like him headed up towards Washington, hopefully. We want people who have a proven track record in particular. And I mean, it's one thing to talk a good game, which he definitely does. But you know, even as an out-of-stater, I've heard all kinds of things about his integrity and his dedication to doing the best he can do for the people of Wyoming. So that's heartening.
Yeah, yeah. What'd you think, Ken?
I like the idea of having Chuck up there with Harriet. Just like we have never had a truly conservative legislature here in Wyoming, now we actually have some responsive voices in D.C. that I think will work well together in concert. And I think them being there will also help persuade John Barrasso, who has a tremendous amount of power, and he's the number 2 guy, and help put a little bit of pressure on him to do the right thing all the time where Wyoming is concerned. It's exciting to know that as a rep, I've got somebody up there that will actually respond.
Yeah, and I think that race is different. Well, both the Senate and the House race are going to be different simply because you have Harriet in the Senate, and you'd have to be kind of a dummy to run against her. I think she's pretty well got it locked down. I'm not saying that somebody won't enter the race. I'm just saying that her polling looks great, though. I mean, admittedly, it's taken a little bit of a dip, and partially that's in response to how long she's been in office.
That's just part of the normal.
Yeah.
Sometimes the honeymoon's over.
Yeah, and I think the other part of it too is they really mishandled that whole federal lands issue. I think that was a little bit of a hit, but that one's locked down. The House of Representatives, I think Chuck's a really strong candidate. I mean, he's proven that over and over in a couple different offices, the House of Representatives and now Secretary of State. And he pretty much clobbered State Senator Slithers. I mean, Senator Nethercott in the Secretary of State's race. And, from the Wyoming left, I think she'd probably be the person that they would run. Though I think that Wyoming's gotten used to having a conservative Secretary of State. And so I think that would be an uphill battle. I really think so.
A couple of other factors I think go into that. Wyoming's gotten used to a conservative there. They've also gotten used to the idea of the conservatives and what they will or won't do in office. And this next election is an off-year election. And as such, we're going to see more dedicated voters, which tend to be on the right, go out and vote. And the other people who are kind of passive, they don't really have that much to get excited about.
Well, okay, so I think it's a bit of a myth. We hear this every election. Voter turnout was down. And that's a line that the liberal media uses to explain away.
Are you calling me liberal?
No, I'm saying that's a line that the liberal media uses to try to explain away conservative victories. It's a low voter turnout. The truth is, when you look at Wyoming's elections, both primary and general, okay, so off-year elections, yeah, they dip a little bit.
Yeah, that was my only point.
But we're not talking, 10, 20, 30,000 votes. I mean, it's just a little reduction. But, I think that this election with Harry running for the Senate, Chuck running for the House, I think you might see an increase in turnout.
Coming from a high population state, I hate to keep doing this and pointing this out, but if everyone in the whole state voted, it would still be a low voter turnout.
Okay, that's very true. But you bring up a good point. So in Wyoming, only half of the people that are registered, that are able to vote, or eligible to vote, are actually registered. And only half of those actually do go out and vote. So really, each election, you're only talking about a quarter of the population.
Right, yeah.
But I do have a question for you, Jennings.
I have an answer.
How excited are you for your next senator from the great state of Texas, Jasmine Crockett?
Well, I mean, look, I am very excited.
Yes.
Because I think, I guess I shouldn't get too out over my skis here. I don't think that the votership of my state is dumb enough to do that. I think we're gonna not do it. I don't know, man.
I think the race is gonna be about the most entertaining thing we've seen.
There's no question it'll be entertaining. Jasmine Crockett is a very entertaining character. If it wasn't like if there were a way to elect her and sort of like give her no power.
Like exchange her brain.
Yeah, well, no. I want her brain to be there. I just want her to have zero ability to affect anything, but just be the like a face and come out and I would vote for her as long as she couldn't hurt anything because she's really entertaining. Like
Very much
she
so.
she very much. Look, I'm not the guy who plays too much party politics. Like the tribalism stuff gets a little bit wearisome to me, but I will say she's the face of the left. I mean, one of them. And it's like
Left is pretty ugly.
let them be open. Let her she's being honest. This is like let her
Well,
sorry.
that's-
Not honest in the what I mean is she's being brazen about
That's
how
what
she
we
sees
do
things.
here on this show is we bring somebody on and we just allow them to talk and they expose themselves.
Exactly. Wait
Yeah.
a minute. Wait a minute.
wait a minute.
So speaking of Jasmine, when I heard Jasmine was going to run, this is what popped into my mind.
Golly,
so.
Bullwinkle, those fellas are going to rob the bank. Oh, that's terrible. You know what we got to do, don't you?
Sure, we gotta withdraw our money quick.
No, we got to warn them.
Why? They know they're gonna rob the bank.
Well, if there were ever a case of, if only they would use their powers for good, Jasmine Crockett would be the perfect example. I mean, because she is, all right, whatever we want to say about her, she's a left-wing nutball, absolutely off her rocker, total communist socialist.
She's a multilinguist.
But she is an extraordinary actor.
Yeah.
I mean, it is actually incredible when you know her history. And, we've covered this a lot on the show, but, she went to like some of the finest prep schools and she's very well educated, not from the hood.
Not street,
No,
as they say.
No, not from the mean streets of Billings or Miles City. Oh, you didn't know that reference was going to come out.
I did
you?
not. But I mean, you're absolutely right. She maybe if, please God, she loses, she can just use this to parlay a new career in acting. She can just go to Hollywood.
Man.
She'll be happy there.
We don't need actors. We have AI.
Did you guys see? And this is, and I do have a story in the stack here somewhere. But did you see where I don't know if it still is, but there for a while, the #1 country song in America was all AI?
Yep.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
I mean, I find that kind of frightening.
I have not heard it. Is it clever? Like the lyrics, are they good?
Not really.
Yeah.
It's as you would expect.
I do not the AI music is getting really, really, really amazing. AI's writing capabilities, thank God for people like me, at least for now, are still really terrible. You have to go through and curate them because it has the same. I would love to know, because AI right now it's not generating its own intelligence. It's just it is a very, very, very sophisticated parrot. But I'm curious, because it gets so good at so many things, I want to know what terrible writers it pulls its writing style from. Because there's got to only be like 5 of them.
It's a giant library of trash romance novels.
Are you worried about the tapeworm book?
No. I wrote the tapeworm book, and it's funny.
It is funny. I should quit picking on you.
So in the vein of using our powers for good, and the last time you and I talked about this, you couldn't really tell me too much about it, but it's all public now. And so let's talk about AI George.
Oh yeah. Well, so the AI George is being unveiled bit by bit, kind of as we speak. It's still sort of parts are coming out about what it's going to be. And I'll full disclosure, I don't know the whole story. I will tell you what I know.
First, what is AI George?
AI George is the closest you're going to get to getting to meet and talk with George Washington. It is an AI version of George Washington that is part of the forthcoming Torch I started to say program, but it's more than a program. The Torch is kind of the new iteration of what Glenn Beck's career is sort of metamorphosing into, and it's the idea, as I understand it, and again, I write ads, so you're kind of asking me to.
Well, okay, so hold on just a second.
Yeah.
All right, so you think of a television studio as this giant complex, and
Right.
every little show has a huge sound stage.
Right.
That is not
Nope.
what the Blaze Studio is. It's actually, I guess, in terms of a studio, it's actually kind of small.
Yeah.
And I thought it was
Does
fascinating.
it look anything like this?
It's almost exactly like
Yes.
I walked in here and I thought I was in the Blaze.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
good. Thank you.
One example is you watch Glenn Beck's Wednesday night program, and the stage that he's on, the set, it looks huge. It looks like he's in a big open room.
Right.
In reality, it's just a corner.
Dude, you can't be giving this stuff
And
away.
well,
You're
no,
gonna get us in trouble.
it won't get us in trouble. I've been there. I've seen it. I tried to make off with the microphone, but it's actually kind of small. And
Yeah.
so the point I'm getting to is when Josh says, "Well, I'm not really involved." Bull crap. It's happening 10 feet away from his desk because everything is pretty compressed in
okay.
there.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what I know, and then as you said at the beginning, you were talking about journalism. Whatever I am in comparison to a journalist, if you find out I'm wrong later, I guess reach out to David and tell him don't have me on as a guest because I'm terrible. No, this is what I know. The idea behind George AI and everything that we're doing at the Torch that is related to AI is to create an AI within a certain framework, because AI right now draws from the whole internet, from everything. And there's so much out there that is, to use terms that I don't normally use, misinformation and disinformation, and contradictory forms of history and civics. And what George AI is seeking to do is to take these truths that we hold to be self-evident, and things like the founding documents and what all the not just the actual documents like the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, but the writings of the founding fathers and the debates of the founding fathers, and actual history, an actual framework of civics that we would tend to share, among conservatives, and to situate the AI within that world entirely, and it is barricaded from the outside world, so that what you're learning as you interact with this is it's curated to the truth.
It's actual history.
It's actual history, and there are, again, I'm sort of talking outside of my realm of knowledge here somewhat, but I believe there are self-correcting mechanisms that are being put into place. They're being extraordinarily thorough in the way that they've been designing this, it's really amazing. It's visually stunning as well. If you've seen any of the previews of it, George is this kind of modern, muscly looking 50-something-year-old dude with a white wig, and he looks pretty awesome. He sounds really awesome. But there's going to be a lot of stuff coming online that is that is both visual and audio for you to listen to and watch, and also participate in with AI.
So, for those that may not know, Glenn is quite a collector.
Yes.
He has gathered artifacts from American history that is a stellar collection. And rather than hoard them away, he is deciding to share them, I think, in a unique way, and it's very cool. Are you at liberty to kind of talk about that project and what's going on at the museum?
I am at liberty to talk about it. I don't actually know. Yes, I am. You're right. Everything happens 5 feet away from me. I'm not always told about everything. I know that there is and he's been working on this project for
Long time.
years. This was I think this is a new permutation of an older idea, which is to create this interactive environment in which you can go and not physically, but examine each of these artifacts for yourself. You're not going to have to travel all the way to the museum in Dallas, although I highly recommend you do.
I'm going.
There's so much cool
Again.
stuff. I've literally, parenthetically, gentlemen, I have touched one of the decoding machines that was used to help defeat the German U-boats. Just like I've had my hands on it. It's amazing. Anyway, all kinds of stuff like that. But you will not necessarily have to travel there to learn about these things, to learn their history, to be able to kind of interact with them online in a way that is kind of 3D and real and just really amazing.
Well, part of the problem that we have with history is that it is kind of remote. It is sort of inaccessible in the sense that the people that you're studying, well, they died a long time ago.
Right.
You can't hear their voice, and okay, so you can't hear George Washington's voice either.
Right.
But we have his writings, and I mean, he was a voluminous writer.
Very much so.
His journals, he kept a journal every day.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of stuff that's written down. But people find it inaccessible because you have to go pull out some dusty book and, flip to a certain page. And if you don't know exactly what page you're looking at, you may be sitting there reading for hours. And there again, I mean, it's kind of like, being transported to a foreign planet and not knowing anything about it.
Right.
Because you're reading history and it's set in a time that's unfamiliar to you. It's a language that's unfamiliar to you. It's in amongst events that you were never at liberty to, or, you weren't privy to them. And so most people read history and they're disconnected from it. And so it's put away in this little box, and it's just not, it doesn't influence your daily life. The difference here is you can see the documents.
Yes.
You can read the documents. You can turn them around and see what's on the back of them. And it is accessing history in a way that I don't think anybody has ever been able to do before, unless, of course, you go to the museum and, oh, look, here's the Honus Wagner baseball card, which I did get to see when I was down there. When I visited the studio, you guys were packing up to go on the road, and there were some artifacts that were out in the common area, so I did get to see some of them.
Yeah,
Didn't get to go to the museum, though.
Oh, please, the next time you come down, either or both of you come down, I will get you a first-class tour of the whole facility.
Yeah, that's what I heard the last time, Jennings.
I wanted to throw this out. It's a little bit of a tangent on what you were talking about, but you made a good point, and I didn't want to let it go. A lot of people read scripture the same way.
Oh, yeah.
You said they read history.
Mm-hmm.
You only have the context of the world that you know about. And so you read scripture and you try to think about people with modern concepts or worldviews and all of those things. You apply those to there. And that doesn't work. But that's one of the things that I've heard from people who have actually gone there to the Holy Land, is you get a little bit different perspective. You're able to kind of put things in proportion in a very tiny place where all these things happened, especially for somebody from Wyoming or, God forbid, Texas.
He's not actually from Texas.
That's true. I'm not from Texas. I only started to, I'd say, be able to call myself a Texan like a year ago when I bought a cowboy hat.
Right now, you're from Texan.
I'm from Texas. All right.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like being in Wyoming. You have to live here 50. If you move here, you have to live here 50 years before you're actually from Wyoming.
Right.
And even then, you're going to be questioned about
I've heard the other side of that, though, is that if you have any relative going all the way back to the beginning of time who lived in Wyoming, then you are a 14th generation Wyomingite.
Isn't that the dumbest claim you've ever seen? And every article, even in...
I don't think it's so dumb.
Well, every article you read at the bottom of it, he's got, here's a little bit about the author.
Right.
And just about every one of them, he's a 4th generation Wyomingite. Who gives a crap? That doesn't tell me anything about you.
Yeah, that's true.
And to her credit, like Representative, well, I guess soon to be Senator Hageman, she only said that once on this program. But I don't think that that's that really has any relevance at all.
Not really a credential.
No, it's not really.
Well, now hold on a second. What if I were to tell you I'm a first-generation Californian? Wouldn't that immediately make you think?
Now that means something.
Well, since you brought that up, no, I don't really put any stock in that.
You wouldn't question
either.
my judgment?
No. First, I would say, at least you had pretty good judgment moving here and getting the heck out of California. But I tend to take people, as I see them, as I meet them, and I have no problem saying the vast majority of people I've met that moved from California to Wyoming have been pretty conservative. Now, some of them definitely have what I might characterize as the California attitude.
Yeah.
We tend to think of people from New York. Donald Trump is from New York. He obviously has a different attitude than other presidents we've had. And so there's that. But, I think that people are just people.
Yeah.
And, unless you're Jasmine Crockett from Texas. Wait, no, she's not from Texas. All right. Well, we pretty much burned up a busy broadcast 2 hours on the program. Josh, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure having you here.
Anytime, yeah.
It was good to see you again. And that'll do it for today's installment of the program. Have a good week. We'll be back tomorrow for another edition of Cowboy State Politics Live. But for now, from the base of the Bighorns, I'm David Iverson.